I'd do a quick video today, a little bit of a review on my bike, Kawasaki Z1000 2016 model. Well, first impressions, very nice, beautiful looking bike, got the nice aggressive silhouette. I think most people would agree it's a sexy looking bike, there's no doubt about that. Even in stock form, as you can see, I've changed a few parts on my bike, but even in stock form it does look a nice bike without a doubt. Previously owning a Kawasaki, I was optimistic that the bike would be all what I was expecting, and to a degree it is. I have a few niggles, maybe you want to call them gripes, but overall the first impression of the bike is very good. I've owned it roughly for about 2 months now. Taken her in a few days ago for a first service at 1,000 kilometers. Kawasaki did ask me if I would run the bike in, try and keep her below 7,000 RPM and not go mad on it straight away, and to be honest with you, that's exactly what I've done. I haven't really stretched her legs in any way, shape or form. To be honest with you, the performance of the bike has sort of surprised me. More than enough performance for me. Maybe some guys out there would want a little bit more performance, I'm not sure, but for my situation this bike is more than up to the job. I think she's about 140, 144 brake horsepower as standard, and I know with a few modifications people are getting sort of 160 out of them if you want to take it up to that sort of spec, I suppose. But unfortunately the sound in stock form, it just doesn't do enough for the bike. The bike's quiet on tick over, and then when it's running it's very, very quiet with the standard cans. It doesn't give you that sort of buzz from the exhaust note, which most people that ride 1000cc motorcycles would want, and even 600cc motorcycles like to have a nice exhaust note. So I decided to change the exhaust cans, and to be honest, I'm very happy with the system now that's on the bike. Got a nice tone on tick over, not too loud, doesn't draw too much attention to the bike, but once you get off tick over it's got a nice sound. I've also paired that with a K&N air filter, high flow air filter, and the induction sound off it now is very, very nice combined with the exhaust note. It's a lovely sounding bike. I've also replaced the tail and put a tail tidy on it, because I think from standard, the standard tail looks a little bit ugly. It does nothing for the bike, that's my personal opinion, so I've decided to change that and put a different tail tidy on the bike. I've also put some graphics on the wheels just to lift it a little bit. I was contemplating having the wheels coloured, but decided against it, so I've changed that. First impressions of the performance of the bike, well, she's not slow, that's for sure. There's obviously no rider aids on this bike. Basically it's a naked, and that's exactly what it is. It's a naked super sports bike. There's no traction control, there's no power modes, there's none of those things that the other competition has got, and to be honest with you, I like that. I bought a naked bike because it's a naked bike. I don't really understand, if you're going to buy a powerful bike, why you want to have a different power modes to decrease the power. It sort of defeats the object, I guess, but this is just my opinion. I suppose they could be useful in the wet. For me, I wouldn't really decrease the power mode. If I wanted a slower bike, then I wouldn't have bought the bike that I've bought. So I guess everybody's different. I suppose they have their own place. But I like the fact that this bike has no traction control, has no power modes. Basically it's all on the throttle. Got a lot of power, got a lot of mid-range acceleration. Top sort of speed, I haven't been in the position where I can really try her out. I know standard form she'll do about 150, 155. Again, if you've got modifications, she'll probably go a little bit more than that. But in my situation where I use the bike, top end speed is not really a high priority for me, because the roads where I live, it doesn't allow those sort of speeds, and if you're going to try and attempt to do those sort of speeds, you're going to have a very bad day sooner or later. So I was looking for a bike that was more geared to mid-range sort of acceleration up to 100, 120, and this bike certainly got that. Sort of a comfortable bike to ride, because I tend to ride my bike most days for long periods of time. So I wanted something that had got a comfortable riding position, and this definitely suits that sort of style. It's a very comfortable bike to ride. It's a big looking bike, but she doesn't feel heavy when you're riding her. To be fair, she's reasonably easy to manage, even in traffic. Not always, but most of the time. She's quite a comfortable bike to ride. Initially I was a bit disappointed with the stopping power of the brakes, which was a bit worrying considering the power of the machine, but my worries sort of have been abated. After running the bike in, obviously giving the brakes a bedding in period, the brakes now are superb. They do really stop you well. If you're buying a brand new bike, I suppose it's for any bike really, you need to bed in the brakes. Initially when I got on the bike, I was like, they didn't have a lot of feel to the brakes, and they didn't seem to have a lot of stopping power. But as I say, now we're at 1,000 kilometers, just over, and the brakes are fine. So it's just a bedding in period with the brakes. Major gripes with the bike. I think, to be honest with you, I only have one, and that is the lack of storage space on the bike. Under the seat, it has very, very little storage. Okay, you can probably see what I mean about the storage now on this bike. I've taken the seats off. Very little room under the main seat. You can't really fit anything of any size in there because of the design of the seat. Kawasaki have designed the seat in such a way that it clips under, and as you can see, the clips and everything, once the seat is in place, it doesn't give any room under the seat whatsoever. It's very, very poor. In under the rear seat, you've obviously got the toolkit, which comes standard with the bike, and I've just managed to get like a disc lock behind the toolkit, and as you can see now, that is full, and that's about all you can really get in there. There is not much space at all to get anything else, any extras in the bike at all. The main thing that I have is there is nowhere to store your helmet. Clip the helmet to the bike so that you can lock the seat, and the helmets are then locked to the bike. On this model, there is no pins that you can put the ring off your chin strap, hook it to, and leave the helmet resting on the side of the bike. Unfortunately, in this bike, it doesn't have it, which obviously causes a problem when there's maybe yourself and a passenger, both got full face helmets. You're going somewhere, you don't really want to be carrying the helmets around. So this is the main gripe with this bike. It's really the sort of lack of storage. I'm sure that they could have built in a little bit better storage, thought about it a little bit more, or just included somewhere where you can hook the helmets to the bike. Obviously you can carry a rucksack, so anything you buy you can place in the rucksack, but the helmets you're sort of stuck with. The only solution that you can really come up with is to buy a separate chain that you can feed around maybe one of the points of the bike, chain your helmets to the bike and do it that way. But again, there's very little room to even store the chain. You would need to put that into your rucksack to carry it with you, so that once you arrive at your destination, you can then lock the helmets to the bike. But apart from that, overall I'm very happy with the bike. The ride, the suspension is very good, even though the suspension at the moment is in stock form, factory settings. It does have fully adjustable suspension, and this is something that I want to start to look into over the next few weeks, maybe adjust it more to me. I actually find the ride quite hard on the bike, but that may be partly due to the roads that I'm riding on. They are very, very bumpy indeed, and they certainly give the suspension a good workout. I actually want to try and maybe soften the suspension up a little bit, and just test it at that, and then play around with it and see what sort of settings. But overall I'm very pleased with the bike. The low range and mid-range performance is very, very good. I mean, the power sort of comes in at very low RPM. The throttle response is very good on the motorbike. It's very smooth but very strong. So to sum up, the bike has got good low and mid-range performance. It's comfortable, it's easy to ride, the brakes are more than adequate for the job to stop the machine. The overall riding position is very good, but I have noticed once you get to about 100 kilometers, you do get a little bit of buffeting from the wind. It would have been nice to have been able to have had a bigger range of colours on the bike. I would recommend people look at the Kawasaki Z1000, a lovely bike, overall well made, and I think it's got a real mean look about the bike, something a little bit different. I know the Yamaha now do the MT10, which is, I suppose, similar looking in a way. I prefer the Kawasaki over the two, but I know some people like the MT10. It's got that transformer look about it, but again, I think the Kawasaki has sort of got that silhouette. Well, YouTube, that's about all I have for you this time. Please catch me on the next episode. If you like this review on the Kawasaki Z1000, please give it a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. Until next time, catch you later.